So you guys sort of heard Matt talk on the funding process. You heard Liz talk about the process of gathering people, but I'm here to talk to you, and most of you are here to see whether or not the LA Safe process worked. So being a participant in the process, I want to call your attention to this quote attributed to one of the members of our communities, and it says, "When you have to relocate, it's like a death. It plays on your mental and physical well-being." And this survey, funded by the National Association of Realtors, you can see that one in four know family who have left, or 4 in 10 know neighbors or friends who have left. So the reality is real. Our friends and our family, they are leaving because of the loss of our coast. So LA Safe long-term impacts on social networks. So before we talk about the long-term impacts on the social networks, we have to look at the total process. The thing that was unique about the LA Safe process is that it focused on relationships. It started with the Lead the Coast effort, which was a space created for community members, faith leaders, politicians, and yes, healthy debate. In this space, we was educated on the issues, we was educated on the opportunities available to us to solve these issues, and it helped us build new relationships and deepen other relationships. So let's think about this process. The community leaders was brought in, educated, trained, helped the debate. They was then asked to participate in the LA Safe process. Now, the important part about that is now that you have individuals that knows the issues, knows the limitations of government, and now they're asked to go into the community and have those difficult debates. You don't have a bureaucrat going into the community and tell people, hey, look at this map, you might have to leave. So these same community members' relationships was leveraged. So Matt just can't come into my community and say, hey, I want to do this. But if Matt and I go into the community, and because I have existing relationships in the community, and now I have been part of a process that have educated me on the issues and the limitations of government, I can have that conversation more effective with my community. So when we look at government-led planning, it's no secret that it's hard for government to include citizens. Now, I want to speak from my personal experience, particularly Hurricane Katrina. After Hurricane Katrina, I went to meeting after meeting, and there was a lot of solutions put forward, and each time we would put forward a solution to get our community back up and running, we was told no, no, no. And finally, we asked, why? Why can't we do it? Well, something called the Stanford Act or whatever it was, you can't do it because of these policies and these laws. And so what often happens was that when you're told no, and then you're invited to a comment meeting where you get to offer public comment, but you wasn't at the seat for the planning, you become frustrated. And oftentimes that frustration spilled over to those public comment meetings. So you get a community member like myself that'll go up there and we vent about how unfair the process was, why we should have been included in the process. And in my opinion, that's a waste of space because you're not adding anything to that public comment, which is essential to your community. But because we didn't have a seat at the table, that's often what happens. I found myself in more public comment meetings than I found in planning meetings. And I'm not saying that government doesn't have rules, doesn't have laws, doesn't have guidelines, but if we was proactive and we had people in the community educating community members or leaders on the limitations of government and how they could get involved, then when there's a disaster, you would have a more informed, a more educated community. So now you have community members that's aggravated, community members that's upset, and community members looking for answers. And government officials oftentimes say, hey, look, the people don't want to see the sausage-making business. You know, it's too complicated. The people don't know how the process works. And that's used as a crutch. That's used as an excuse, in my opinion. Because if you educate, and Matt highlighted this, if you educate the community, they can come up with some of the best solutions. They are local experts. And I believe that it is not only my job to educate my community, but it's also my elected officials to help me educate my community. So, the LA Safe approach, was it effective? Well, hopefully by now, the answer to you, as it is to me, is yes. It's very effective. This is a win-win situation. Why you say that, Donald? Because you gather different people into a room. You have a series of meetings referring to Lead the Coast, a series of meetings educating them on the pressing issues. There's a lot of issues in our community. People are multi-issues, right? My wife wants a new car. That's an issue, but that might not necessarily be the issue that's facing my community. So you get us into the room where we can highlight and agree on the issues that we have to solve. Then you give us resources to solve the issues, right? And then you invite us into a larger meeting for us to go into our community and bring them into the room. And then as leaders in the community, we have these difficult conversations. It's also a win for our elected officials. It gives them an opportunity to be in the room, or send representatives into the room, and let us know what they're fighting for and how we can be inclusive in that fight. Don't tell me you're fighting for me, let me fight with you. So yes, the LA Safe approach was effective. It helps bring the community together. It helps us identify, it helps us prioritize the issues and the problems that we're facing. Now, as I take my seat, I want to say this. I've been organizing for well over a decade, and oftentimes it might be a journalist, it might be a university that might want to come and have me fill out a survey, give me a $25 gift certificate or card. It might be a university after the VPR spill that might want to draw blood from our pregnant women or take hair samples so they can be studied long term. These people come into our communities, they take our story, they take our data, and then they leave. I was a bit skeptical about this process. I thought it just was another person or another group of people approaching my community looking to take from it. But I'm pleased to say they didn't fly in, kiss babies, and shake old people's hands. They stayed on the ground. They continue to be on the ground. They help us deepen our relationships, go back into the community and weave those broken relationships, mend them back again, put us into a room where we could debate, put us into the room where we can highlight our issues. The enemy of my enemy is the friend. Coastal land loss is threatening my whole community. This process highlights what we have in common. I'm going to say that again. This process highlights what we have in common. And so if we're looking for jobs, we're looking for good schools, we're looking for education for our kids, then we have to look at those maps that Matt had up there earlier and say, where are you going to live? They didn't make me a lie. When I presented them to my community, they didn't leave, and I wasn't a liar. I told my community that they were here to help, and they still there to help. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and also hit that notification button so you can be up to date with all of my latest videos.